Behind the house, James set up tin cans on fence posts. His hands guided Mercy's as she held the pistol, steadying her grip and teaching her to breathe through the trigger pull. The gun kicked like a living thing, but her shots found their mark. Again. "I can handle this. Can you handle killing a man?" "If he's trying to kill my family." Yes, Sheriff Durant's patrol car appeared on the dirt road, followed by 2 black SUVs with tinted windows. The women moved to the porch, like they'd practiced this dance their whole lives. Mama Jolene stood center, flanked by the others in a line that said everything without words. Durant climbed out with papers in his hand and back up at his shoulder. "Ladies, I have court orders here. Time to move along." "Whose court?" Mama Jolene asked. "Judge Morrison signed these himself." "Judge Morrison, whose brother died in that convenient car accident." Durant's jaw twitched. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." Mercy stepped forward, studying his face in the afternoon light. Something about the way he held his left shoulder, the scar on his knuckles, the particular shade of his eyes. Memory clicked into place like a puzzle piece finding home. "You were there." "What?" "The night my daddy died. You were one of the 3 men my mama saw leaving our property." The other women pressed closer, a circle tightening around prey. Durant's hand moved toward his weapon, but stopped when he saw 6 sets of eyes that had already decided his fate. "You killed them all," Mercy said. "Prove it." "We will." The church bells rang at midnight, not from any human hand, but from something older than the building itself. Mercy pressed her back against the heavy wooden doors as armed men surrounded the building. Through stained glass windows, she could see their shadows moving like wolves circling prey. "How many?" Mama Jolene whispered. 8, maybe 10. Outside, Elder Calloway's voice boomed through a megaphone. "Ladies, you have 1 hour to come out peacefully. After that, we can't guarantee your safety." James and 4 local men had taken positions behind the cemetery headstones, their hunting rifles trained on the mercenaries. The odds were impossible, but they held their ground. Sheriff Durant appeared at the church steps, but instead of joining the siege, he turned his weapon on the hired guns. "What the hell are you doing, Durant?" Elder Calloway demanded. "What I should have done 40 years ago. You forget what we have on you. My daughter's already dead because of you. Nothing left to lose." The temperature inside the church dropped 20 degrees in seconds. Breath became visible in the summer heat. The women felt it first, that presence that had haunted their families for generations. Whispers filled the air, voices of the murdered speaking in unison. "Do you feel that?" Sarah Chen gasped. "They're here," Mercy said. "All of them." Outside, the hired guns began to panic. Their weapons jammed simultaneously. Car engines died. Radios filled with static and screaming voices. One man dropped his rifle and ran into the night, claiming invisible hands were choking him. Durant pulled a manila envelope from his jacket and threw it at Elder Calloway's feet. 40 years of evidence. Every murder, every payoff, every family you destroyed. It's all documented." Elder Calloway bent to retrieve the papers, and his face went white as bone. "Where did you get this?" "Your own files." "Turns out your grandson has a conscience." The old man clutched his chest, staggering backward. "You don't understand. We built this county. We made it prosper. You built it on graves." Elder Calloway collapsed to his knees, gasping. Around him, the remaining mercenaries fled as unseen forces pursued them into the darkness. His final words were lost in the wind that carried the voices of 27 murdered souls, finally finding peace. Durant holstered his weapon and approached the church doors. "It's over, ladies. You can come out now." Mercy opened the doors to find Elder Calloway motionless on the ground, his empire crumbling like the ashes of her family home. Justice had arrived wearing many faces, some living and some long dead. 6 months after Elder Calloway's death, wildflowers grew where his mansion once stood. The county courthouse displayed a new plaque honoring the 27 families who had died defending their land. Mercy Webb stood in the doorway of the community center she'd built with mineral rights money, watching children play where fear had once ruled. James approached with blueprints tucked under his arm. "The Henderson family wants to rebuild their place. You approved the loan?" "Approved and funded." What about the Riverbend property? Protected in perpetuity. No one can touch it now. Ruth emerged from the center with Tommy at her side, the boy clutching one of his grandfather's salvaged books. His reading had improved dramatically, and the nightmares had finally stopped. "Mama, how's he doing?" "Better every day." Yesterday he read 3 whole pages without help. Tommy looked up at Mercy, with eyes that held his father's determination. "Sister, when I grow up, I want to protect families like you do." "Then you better keep studying." Little man. The burned shell of their family home stood unchanged on the hill, but now it served as something different. A reminder instead of a wound. Garden plots surrounded the foundation where community members grew vegetables to share. The well her great-grandfather had dug still provided clear water. Mercy walked the familiar path to her father's grave as evening painted the sky purple. His headstone bore a simple inscription, "Beloved Father and Protector of the Land." Wildflowers covered the ground around it, planted by families who finally felt safe to put down roots. "We did it, Daddy. The trust is holding. The families are protected." She knelt beside the marker, no longer hearing whispers or feeling supernatural cold. The dead had found their peace. The Callaways are finished, and Durant's testifying against the last of their allies. This county belongs to its people again. A warm breeze carried the scent of new growth and children's laughter from the valley below. Mercy stood and brushed dirt from her knees, her father's memory a steady presence rather than a haunting. She had become what her community needed, not a desperate girl crying through smoke, but a quiet guardian, ensuring that no family would face the fire alone again. The ashes had given birth to something stronger than what came before. "Please, Cowboy, my father died in the fire. My baby brother is still inside," she cried. Through smoke, Mercy's fingers dug into James Colt's arm like claws. The farmhouse behind them roared with flames that reached toward the black sky, and the heat pressed against their backs like a living thing. Her father lay twisted in the dirt 20 feet away, blood pooling beneath his head, his eyes staring at nothing. "Please, Cowboy, my father died in the fire. My baby brother is still inside," she cried through smoke that burned her throat raw. James stared at the collapsing structure, beams cracking like gunshots. "Mercy, that whole damn place is coming down. He's only 4 years old. I can't. Please, I'm begging you." From the porch, Ruth Webb's screams cut through the night. "Tommy! Tommy!" 2 neighbors held her back as she fought to run toward the flames. Her nightgown was torn, and her face was streaked with ash and tears. She looked like a ghost already. Sheriff Durant's patrol car skidded to a stop, gravel spraying. He emerged with his radio crackling and his badge catching the firelight like a warning. "What the hell happened here?" "Someone killed my daddy and set the house on fire," Mercy said, her voice steady despite the tears. "My brother's trapped inside." Durant swept his gaze across the scene, taking in the body, the flames, the desperate women. "Girl, this looks like an electrical fire to me. These old places go up fast. That's bullshit and you know it." James pulled free from Mercy's grip. The second floor was already gone, but he could hear something. A child's cry, faint but real, coming from what used to be the kitchen. "Don't you dare," Durant barked. "That structure ain't safe. Neither is leaving a 4-year-old to burn." James ran toward the flames before anyone could stop him. The front door was gone, just a rectangle of orange hell. He covered his face with his jacket and disappeared into the smoke. Mercy dropped to her knees in the dirt and prayed to whoever might be. Listening, James stumbled out of the dying, flames with Tommy limp in his arms. The boy's chest rose and fell in shallow breaths, his face streaked with soot but alive. Mercy rushed to them as James collapsed to his knees, coughing up smoke and ash. "Is he breathing?" "Yeah, kid's a fighter." As the fire settled into smoldering ruins, Mercy's eyes swept the scene with new clarity. The kerosene smell hung thick in the air, too strong for an electrical fire. Deep tire tracks carved through the mud led away from the house toward the main road. And her father's wound, a clean hole through his forehead that no falling beam could make. Sheriff Durant holstered his radio and approached them with heavy steps. "Electrical fire, no doubt about it. These old places are death traps. Faulty wiring, probably been building up for months." "That's a lie." "Excuse me?" I said that's a goddamn lie. Mercy stood slowly, her voice cutting through the night air. My daddy was shot. This whole place reeks of kerosene. And those tire tracks weren't here yesterday. James wiped soot from his eyes and nodded. She's right, Sheriff. Something ain't adding up here. Durant's jaw tightened. Boy, I'd be real careful about spreading wild theories. Ruth sat on the porch steps, rocking Tommy against her chest. Her lips moved in silent prayer or conversation with ghosts. When Mercy tried to approach her, Ruth turned away like she couldn't bear to look at her own daughter. Mama, what did you see? Nothing. Just the gentle rocking and Tommy's labored breathing. Mercy turned back to Durant, her fists clenched. Someone murdered my father and tried to kill my family. You know it and I know it. What I know is you're in shock, girl. Making accusations you can't prove will only bring you trouble. What kind of trouble? Durant adjusted his badge and glanced toward the road. The kind that follows folks who can't let sleeping dogs lie. The governor's coming through next week to discuss land development. Be smart and keep your mouth shut until then. The way he said it made Mercy's blood run cold. This wasn't advice. It was a threat. 3 days after the fire, Mercy found her father's hiding place. Behind a loose floorboard in the barn, wrapped in oilcloth like something sacred, lay a stack of legal papers that changed everything. Her hands shook as she unfolded documents covered in official stamps and signatures. James crouched beside her, squinting at the dense legal language. What the hell is all this? Mineral rights. Daddy owned the mineral rights to our land and half the county. That's worth a fortune. More than a fortune. Look at these offers. Mercy spread out letter after letter, each one marked with increasing dollar amounts and growing desperation. The Calloway name appeared on most of them, along with state development agencies and mining corporations. From the house came the sound of Sheriff Durant's voice, low and insistent. Through the barn window, they could see him on the porch with Ruth, who clutched Tommy like a shield. Mrs. Webb, the state's prepared to make a generous offer for your land. Cash settlement, relocation assistance, the works. I told you no. With respect, ma'am, you're in no position to refuse. Medical bills for the boy, funeral costs, and rebuilding. This solves all your problems. Mercy stood so fast the papers scattered. That son of a bitch! James caught her arm. Wait, look at this. He held up a letter dated just 2 weeks ago, signed by Elder Calloway himself. The final offer before the fire. Your daddy turned down $2 million. $2 million? The Calloways have owned this county for 5 generations. Your family was the only thing standing between them and complete control. Ruth's voice drifted from the porch, barely audible. I saw them leave. Durant leaned forward. Saw who leave, Mrs. Webb? 3 men. Night of the fire. They drove away fast before the flames got high. You're confused. The trauma, I know what I saw. Ruth's voice cracked like old wood. Same as my grandmother saw when they came for her land. Same as my mother saw when they burned out the Hartwell family. The old curse follows anyone who defies the Calloways. Durant's radio crackled. He stepped away to answer it, and Ruth whispered something that made Tommy whimper and bury his face against her neck. Mercy folded the papers with trembling hands. We're not selling. Your mama might not have a choice. Then we'd better make sure she does. The courthouse basement smelled like mold and forgotten secrets. Mercy pulled dusty file boxes from metal shelves while James held a flashlight steady. Death certificates, property transfers, insurance claims. The pattern emerged like a sickness spreading through decades. Look at this. The Morrison family, 1987. House fire after refusing to sell. The Kellys. 1993, carbon monoxide poisoning. Bridget family. 2001, car accident on a straight road. James whistled low. Every single one turned down Calloway's offers. 23 families in 40 years. Mercy's voice was flat, mechanical. All accidents. All convenient. Footsteps echoed in the corridor above. Heavy, deliberate steps that made the old building creak. Elder Calloway appeared at the top of the basement stairs, his shadow stretching down like a warning. Miss Webb, Mr. Colt, Mr. Calloway. Doing some reading. I see. The old man's voice carried the weight of generations. Careful what you stir up down there. Some things are better left buried. Like murder? Elder Calloway smiled without warmth. Like the dead child. They don't take kindly to being disturbed. Your family should know that better than most. Is that a threat? It's wisdom. The kind your father should have heeded. That night, Mercy returned to the burned shell of her home. She couldn't stay away. The foundation stood like broken teeth against the star-filled sky, and something called to her from the ruins. She stepped through what used to be the front door and immediately felt the temperature drop. "Daddy?" The whisper came from everywhere and nowhere. Her name carried on wind that shouldn't exist. Cold breath against her neck in the summer heat. She turned in circles, searching shadows that moved wrong. Mercy, her father's voice clear as the day he died. She followed it deeper into the ruins, past the collapsed kitchen, where Tommy had nearly died, toward the back bedroom, where family photographs had once hung on walls, now reduced to ash. James found her there at dawn, sitting in the rubble with tears frozen on her cheeks. "How long have you been here?" "All night." "He's trying to tell me something." "Mercy, you're scaring me." "Good, you should be scared." She stood and brushed ash from her clothes. "We all should be." Back at Ruth's sister's house, they found Ruth packing Tommy's few remaining belongings into a cardboard box. "We're not running." "Bubby, the hell we're not. The ancestors won't let us run." "You said it yourself." Ruth's hands stilled on Tommy's small shirt. "Then God help us all." Mama Jolene's kitchen table became a war room. 6 women sat around it like generals planning a siege, each carrying stories that should have stayed buried. Mercy watched their faces as they spoke, seeing her own grief reflected in every line and shadow. "My husband's hunting accident," said Sarah Chen, her voice steady as stone. "Clean shot through the heart. No powder burns." "My boy's drowning," whispered Ellen Reeves. "State champion swimmer who suddenly forgot how to swim." Mama Jolene poured coffee with hands that had buried 3 generations. 27 suspicious deaths in 40 years. All families who wouldn't sell to the Calloways. "We need proof," Mercy said. "We need protection first." Mama Jolene's eyes found James across the room. "Boy, you teach this girl to shoot?" "Yes, ma'am. Good. These women have been victims long enough."